welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. Today, it's going to be me and Isaac. We're going to be talking about who the Padres have fired after this meltdown of a second half of the year. And we're going to be talking about, is this enough? Are these the right moves? Is this something that's going to help the organization? Is it going to fix the organization? And we're not going to go super in depth on this part, but we're going to preview a little bit about, all right, here's what we think they actually need to do to make positive change and have improvement on this season. So the big one, the first guy that they fired, of course, was Larry Rothschild. Now that one happened a few weeks ago. We know Tingler was part of the firing of him. But Isaac, what else have we seen in the last few days? You want to just go over who else the Padres have fired?
Yeah, so the other day, I think everyone knows about this one, and mind me, I'll be reading it off my phone. I don't know all these moves off the top of my head, but I think his name was Sam Genie. I think that's how you pronounce it. They've fired the farm director, and that was strange. I didn't really think anything big of that. I don't even know what the farm director really is supposed to do, of course, but I don't know if any of these moves that I feel like firing Rothschild, that was probably a necessary thing. And I know the ERA might be higher, but that's also because we lost Blake Snell. We didn't have Yu Darvish for a while. We lost Chris Paddock. We have guys who Jake Arrieta with a 10.95 ERA in his time with the Padres. Vince Velasquez, same thing. So those guys were already pretty awful pitchers, and they came to the Padres and were even more awful than they already were. But as I mentioned, fired the farm director. But I think before that, the only move that was made was firing Rothschild. Now, I don't know what the farm director does, but someone did take his place. They promoted Riley Westman to be the new farm director of this team. Mark Connor has been assigned to the special assistant role. So if you guys want to go ahead and take a look at the recent Padres moves, you guys can go on MLBTradeRumors.com, and they have the recent Padres moves, the front office moves that they've made. Now, Matt brought up, do I think these moves are going to fix the Padres? I think the moves that are going to fix the Padres are kind of going to, first off, that batting coach, Damian Easley's got to go too. But I think what's going to help them out is they're going to have to transition to younger coaches who are it's weird for me to say because I never thought baseball would be like this. Obviously, as a player, I never thought about this kind of stuff at all, but data-driven stuff. What's his name? Sorry. Cal Quantrill. He had brought up recently that the Indians had helped him get his changeup back to major league level pitch. And we've seen how good he's been recently with the Indians. He has been fantastic. He might have put himself into the Cy Young conversation. But he said that the data-driven statistics and everything like that have pretty much helped him develop that changeup into what he wanted it to be. And I think that's what the Padres need to start moving towards. You see the Giants have a bunch, boatloads of young coaches in their front office, on their staff right now. So I think transitioning to that would be great for this team. Which, like I said, it's weird to say. I don't think many of us, especially players, would think, oh, this is the way baseball's going. But this is the way baseball's going. and the Padres are going to have to follow suit. Having all this talent on your team, they're only going to perform up to what they're taught, up to par in that way. None of them want to play for Tingler anymore, and I also think that's kind of attributed to how the Padres have played lately. You don't want to play for someone that you don't want to play. You're not going to do good if you're not playing for someone you want to play for. So I think, like I said, transitioning to a younger staff, transitioning to the new era of baseball, I think that's going to be helpful for them here soon.
Quick question, because we've been talking about this for a while. With this younger staff, you do still want a veteran manager, a guy that's seen it all, right?
100%.
And I think that complements so well, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I see a lot of people talking about Bruce Bochy. I love Bruce Bochy, of course. But that's obviously just nostalgia for what he's provided to the Padres. The real question would be, would he be willing to transition to that? And if anyone knows anything about Bruce Bochy, if he's already transitioned to that kind of stuff, let me know. I know he's still in the Giants front office, so maybe he's contributed to that kind of thing. But for anyone who knows, let us know in the comments so we can kind of get a clue about it. So maybe we could talk about it here soon. But I feel like there's also other guys out there that would be willing to transition to that also. The thing with Bruce Bochy is that we brought it up. AJ Preller would have to cede a lot of. I feel like him and Tingler are one mind, like Jim Russell said. So I feel like Preller would have to really transition out of that role. Him just stick to being a part of the front office, and Bruce Bochy handle everything else. Now, it will all depend on if Preller is willing to do that, because you guys know, I think we all know, Bochy's not going to come into a situation that he doesn't have full control over. He's already succeeded a lot in this league. He doesn't have to come out of retirement. And yes, this is a good situation, but he wants to be able to handle that good situation. And, if he's able to provide this team with a lot of other young coaches who are able to provide them with this data-driven stuff, which I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. It's really weird for me to say, but I think that's the way the Padres need to start heading towards, especially when you have guys coming up in the minor league system, Campusano, Gore, Abrams, Hassel. Like, you definitely want those guys to be up to date with the game, with the way the game's going, and you want them to be able to succeed. So that way you can have those the small contracts on your team, kind of like the way the Rays are doing, except they don't spend money on anyone. But you want to have those small contracts on your team so that way you can get bigger contracts elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. And you brought up the Giants. You brought up the Rays, who are a team that doesn't really spend that much money. Look at the Dodgers development staff. Like, these are teams that have adopted that kind of philosophy of baseball. All right, what makes you win? Getting on base, hitting with launch angle, having good exit velocity, showing like what do your RPMs look like. Like, there's a lot of different statistics that have kind of been looked at and ways to evaluate performance. I mean, look like just like us too. Like, growing up, like, imagine looking at like a now I'm blanking on the site, like the what is it called? The page where it's like has all of the
oh right, the baseball savant.
Baseball savant. I could not think of the word. I don't know why. But like, look at that page and like look at what those stats mean. Growing up, like, that was never a thing for even us. And we're still pretty young, like, in our baseball watching lives, but it's something that's been changed a lot. So you start looking at, all right, it's time to adapt, because the Giants are doing it, the Dodgers are doing it, all the organizations that are doing really well and developing their players are doing it. So my question, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. They fire the farm director, right? Does that mean that he just refused to adapt to those philosophies? Or is that the organization that's not adapting and they're just trying to use him as a scapegoat? And it's hard to tell, I think, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like they're just trying to have everyone as a scapegoat right now. I love AJ Preller. I don't want him gone. I think he's tried to do his best to get this team to the top. But it's really time to start, thinking. Because obviously Andy Green was a scapegoat before. There's been a bunch of scapegoats throughout his time as a Padre, as a guy in the front office. It's time to start looking at him. Next year, if there's not significant improvement, I mean like 95 to 100 wins, because remember, coming into this year, we're supposed to be competing for the division, not battling to be 500.
Yeah. Not battling with the Rockies.
Exactly, not battling with the Rockies. So, sorry, I'm trying to read this article, try to see what a farm director does.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing. I think like, if you're a farm director, like, if you're the director of that whole, like, all the minor league systems, I think it's really just showing, like, all right, what are we trying to adopt? What are we trying to improve? And that's what my guess would be, because I don't know, like, exactly the job description, but if that means we are going to fundamentally change the way that we develop our prospects, then I applaud the move. Good job.
100%.
If that doesn't mean that, then that doesn't mean anything. That's the problem. It's like, oh, cool, you're firing a guy, you're going to do the same stuff. And that's the same thing. Like, you did bring up firing Damian Easley potentially. I don't know if necessarily firing him is the right move. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not satisfied with the way that the Padres have been hitting. But we've been talking about this for so long. You need more coaches. You can't have one hitting coach. You
Right.
need like 6. That's what most of the other teams in the league have. And Chase was talking about this. I don't know if it was, I think it was with me, or I might have been listening to his when he was going live. But he was basically saying, there's like, look at the top teams in the league, and they all are the top in the league at the amount of coaches that they have. Like, if you look at the playoff teams, they all lead the league in how many coaches they have. So if everyone's going, oh, like, look, this is on Preller, even saying this is on Tingler, and I'm not a big Tingler fan, but you have to look at that too, because that's something I think that's just kind of gets forgotten about. And we brought it up pretty recently too when we were talking about potentially firing AJ Preller, or like if he was on the hot seat. And that was our big thing. Like that also could be Preller. Preller's like, no, we don't want to spend our money there. But that could also be ownership going, oh no, because I feel like it's kind of been pretty clear that AJ Preller was not the guy that wanted to sign Eric Hosmer. And that was ownership really pushing that. But if it's like, no, we don't want to go and build up this organization. We're just trying to put our money into the players. I would, and I don't know if I talked about this with you and Chase. I would rather them, and I like Jurickson Profar. I like a lot of these guys. I would rather them not sign some of these guys and literally go spend that $20 million on solely coaches. And that's not how much it costs either. Like it's not going to be that expensive. But go and try to actually change the structure of the organization. Because as we've seen with a lot, this happens in every sport. When you have organizations that are just kind of a mess, they don't win. Like look at the Washington football team now, formerly the Washington Redskins. Dan Snyder is so bad, and that's the reason why they're never in a good spot. Look at the Knicks. James Dolan is terrible. It's coming from ownership down. And yes, you can have good players, and yes, you can have guys that come in and do really well. But it's going to be hard to really mentally become a great franchise. We don't have that, and you don't have the right people doing it at the top. So it's not like it's Tingler's at the top, then everyone else is below, or Preller's at the top and everyone else is below. And you got to look even higher than that and see, all right, what's going on here? Is this a Preller's not hiring coaches because he's trying to spend money elsewhere? Because then that's fully on him. But if it's on ownership, then that's what has to be done. So for Easley, maybe you don't fire him, right? But maybe we are unsatisfied with you. You're going to be dropped down to an assistant hitting coach. We're going to bring in 5 more guys, one of them who is a different hitting coach. And like you said, they're adopting, hey, we need to raise our launch angle. Because everyone listening, everyone that's watched the Padres this year knows that the home runs, the power was gone.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it. Myers, he had 17. I believe he's 3rd on the team in home runs. No, I'm sorry, he's 4th. Because Cronenworth has 20.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 guys over 20 home runs. And you have many guys that have played almost the whole year. Grisham's played almost the whole year. Myers has played almost the whole year. Hosmer's played almost the whole year. There are too many guys that are providing zero power. Guys are striking out. It's just, it doesn't seem like the approaches are good. There's so many things that need to be changed. So I'm all for it. I think that's what you got to do. And I don't think firing the farm director necessarily does that, unless that means you're changing the philosophy of this organization. So anything else you want to add though?
Yeah, you brought up how you'd rather have the money be spent elsewhere rather than the players. You wouldn't have to spend the money on these players if you were able to develop guys down in the farm system. I brought it up not that long ago. The Brewers were able to develop their number, I believe it was either 17, 18, 19 or 18, 19, 20. And that was Devin Williams, Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta, who Corbin Burns is in the Cy Young running right now. Freddie Peralta is under a 3 ERA, and Devin Williams won a Rookie of the Year, and he's one of the best relievers in the league. We don't do that. It's very easy to say that we don't do that. And, being able to hire guys that are able to help those guys down in the minors become guys like that, I think that's going to be very crucial for this team down the road. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is why they fired the farm director, because they weren't able to get that out of the prospects. But something's got to happen. We need to start seeing prospects handle business in the bigs, because I definitely think something about the chemistry was off this year. A bunch of these guys had played for winning organizations. Tommy Pham had played for the Rays and the Cardinals, historically winning organizations. Trent Grisham is relatively new, so he didn't. I mean, he made the playoffs, but he blew it in his first game with the Brewers. Will Myers came from the Rays, but historically he's been with the Padres, who've been a bad organization, and so he doesn't really know how to win. Poor guy. Eric Hosmer won a World Series. I think just some of these guys have really big egos, is what I'm trying to say, and I just think that throwing them all together on one team, it's just, the chemistry is bound to go down eventually. I don't think putting a team together just with all that money will lead to success. You look at all the teams right now. The Dodgers, yes, they do have a high payroll, but I mean, Seager is a Dodger. Bellinger's always been a Dodger. Will Smith's probably always going to be a Dodger. Kershaw, Urias, Bueller. So they got a lot of guys that they brought up. Muncy wasn't really anything until he became a Dodger. Same with Turner. So there's a lot of guys that they've developed, and they've all, been able to have good chemistry together. They took those goofy Halloween pictures. So I guess, we didn't see that from our guys. But
dude, just so you know, that is going to be such a good meme that I'm going to use on Twitter.
It's amazing.
I totally forgot to tweet it out. I'm going to tweet out a banger after we're done here.
Walker Buehler was wearing that, but he was wearing Uggs, dude. He was wearing Uggs, bro.
That's hilarious. No, I was laughing so hard. I saw it this morning. I just started cracking up. That's like the first thing I saw. So that was crazy. So tomorrow we're going to do something, and we might keep doing this throughout the offseason. We're going to do like a Sunday morning, 9 to 9:30, just a live with the viewers. It's not going to be necessarily Padres related. We're definitely going to talk about football. We all watch football a ton. So we'll really just talk about what you guys want to talk about, and just answer all your questions, sports related. But I'll even talk about the NBA too. I'm not huge in the NBA, but I do watch. So I'm super down to talk about football. We're going to be doing that probably for a while, just because we're probably through the offseason. I don't know exactly how we're going to do it. We'll figure that out soon, but definitely tomorrow or Sunday, we're going to go and do that live stream. So 9 to 9:30. You guys wanted to kind of have like a NFL, pre-game or Sunday show, I guess. We're going to be doing that a little bit. We'll probably have Padres topics as well, but that'll be really fun to do. So that's all I got for today. Actually, I had one more thing. Who was the second baseman? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. He played with the Twins for years. He came to the Padres, signed like a minimum deal. And then, if you remember, he got cut or something, and then he completely blasted the organization.
Oh, right. I know who you're talking about.
That's like you were talking about the one, and where it's like, all right, like what's going on here? That's another that kind of back that up. So when we're talking about this, all right, like you fire these guys, what does that mean? You got to fundamentally change. So that's another example. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Someone in the comments, please let me know who it is. I don't know why. Brian Dozier. There we go. Yes. Like Dozier came, he was like, this is like so weird. Like the stuff that they are like teaching is like completely wrong. And at the time I was like, oh, shut up, Dozier. Like, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But definitely concerns. Can it be improved? Yes. It 1,000,000% can be improved, because we've seen that with a lot of organizations that have done that. And I think the Rays are a prime example that you can have like 4 people show up to your games and you can make like $30 over the course of a season and still win ball games. So like it can happen. You have to change organizationally, because I mean that's like the people that run the Rays front office, they all deserve trophies. Like, come on, like that is absurd. Like the stuff that they have to deal with there. They literally average 4,000 people at the game every. That's like so low. That is so low. Even when the Padres were practically giving tickets away, they were not even close to that number. So props to those guys too. But Padres, they got to step it up organizationally. I believe that they can. I believe that Preller can be the GM that is for a Padres championship. I still do believe that. But got to change the philosophy of this team. Got to improve. Got to really get that like analytics staff going and that analytics crew in there, because as we've seen, teams with a lot of coaches, teams that follow baseball analytics well, tend to improve their players a ton. And I think the biggest example, besides like the Rays overall, San Francisco Giants. This has been insane for them, and I think that's a lot of the reason to credit that. Yeah, that's all I got. So thank you all for listening. If you guys, try to come to the live stream 9 o'clock on Sunday, that'll be super fun to do. We'll just be talking football and stuff. I am not, as you can see, I'm a 49ers fan. Isaac's a Chargers fan, so we'll definitely talk about the Chargers a bit. Big game, huh? Playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I will say I gamble on football every Sunday. I'm taking Chargers +7. So I think that's
too, yeah.
That's a big line, right?
Yeah, the Chargers always play the Chiefs really good, man. +7, that's a little disrespectful.
Yeah, I was like +7. Like the Chiefs are coming off of a loss to a team that is like the Ravens are so banged up. They are not the Ravens of the last 2 years. Like they are like right now they're about to miss like so many guys. So yeah, I don't know. I think the Chargers will hang in there. They always do play the Chiefs well. I mean, divisional games are usually close too, just because you see those teams, you see what they're going through, what they're doing. So that'll be a good game. Definitely down to talk about that as well. So we will see you guys hopefully tomorrow, Sunday morning, 9 to 9:30. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you then.